What's up, y'all? My name is Brandy Churchwell. Thank you for joining in. Before I get started on the video, I wanted to quickly give a huge thank you to all of my subscribers, all of the new people who have joined me, all of the love and support that I've gotten on my new YouTube channel and on Twitter has been so overwhelming, and I appreciate it so much. So I wanted to take a moment and say thank you to the 13th jurors, to the wine moms, and to everybody else that has shown me love and support. I appreciate it so much. Okay, where we had left off on day 10, we had a special agent from the FBI take the stand to go over cell tower data from Zach's main phone. Now, there's nothing really crazy here that's really surprising. We know that he didn't take his phone with him if he allegedly is the killer. If he did go to Rosalio's that night, we know that he didn't take his phone with him. We know that it was inactive from 7:34 until 11:19 that night. We do know that the next day it was bouncing off the same couple of towers, and then it's for the next few hours it was bouncing off the Beacham tower, which makes sense because we know that he went to the lake house. So with everything in here, there's really nothing that was surprising. Our last witness of day 10 is the forensic examiner who did the download of Zach's laptop. So here's what's concerning about the laptop. There was a folder titled Rosalio Gutierrez Jr. In that folder on his laptop, there were several pictures and screenshots from Facebook and other websites. There were bunch of things placed on April 25th around 3 a.m. Different items that were placed in there. They made it a point to point that time and date out. There were also screenshots from the Wisconsin Department of Financial Institutions. You can see up in that top corner. It had information about Rosalio's LLC and his address. There were screenshots from an Android Find My Device app. And then the site where you actually track it was even bookmarked for quick access. And I think the bookmark was put there in April of 2020. On May 8th around 8:54, and then again at 9:16, and then again at 9:17, there are screenshots of the Find My Device app from the Android stuff, and the last one is actually right. It's a map of Rosalio's apartment. He was tracking. It's very creepy, very, very creepy. There's also a picture of the GPS tracking device that was in there, and then he said about 36 video and audio recordings. Some of them, or I guess most of them, he said sounded like a man and a woman arguing, and a lot of the arguing was over children. Now, during cross-examination, Attorney Mueller asked Mr. Morton about a picture from the report that she didn't have access to. She handed him her computer and said that she couldn't find it. It gave it to him to try to find it. He said that he couldn't, but the file wasn't working. He said that it could also take hours to find it. They ended up breaking for the day so that she could figure out if there was anything missing from what she had, since she said she had never seen that picture. She was possibly hoping for exculpatory evidence, but at the beginning of day 11, she confirmed with the judge that she was able to go to the police department after court on day 10 and view everything that she needed to view. So no exculpatory evidence there, no Brady violations. Everything was good to go. And that was the end of that. Okay, we are at the start of day 11. And let me put my glasses on for this one because we got data, y'all. And y'all know I love me some data. All right, let's see. The same forensic examiner that was on the stand at the end of day 10, they finished his cross-examination this morning. So I know that these exhibits, I put the pictures in here. If you want to see them, I'll put them on my website so that you can actually see them a little bit bigger. But it's some of the cell phone data and orientation changes and that type of thing from Rosalio's phone. So I added them to our little timeline we've got going on. Now, the Motorola Play that's belonging to Zach, or that belonged to Zach, Attorney Mueller said, when she was asking about this one, she said, now there was no factory reset, correct? And he said, actually, yes, there was a factory reset done to Zach's phone. They don't have a date as to when it was done. It either wasn't recorded or it didn't show the date as to when it was done, but there was a factory reset done on his phone. I think there was a picture taken in May and some emails in April. But other than that, I think from what it sounds like, it was gone. There was also reports done for a Motorola G6. There was an extraction on a GPS tracker that was found at Zach's house. But apparently it needed a SIM card for it to work. There wasn't a SIM card in it when it was found. And they didn't find any evidence that it had been registered online to be used. So nothing of value came from checking in with all that. Now, there was also a second tracker. They didn't do any kind of investigation on this one, I guess. And the examiner said that he doesn't have information about how that one works. They did Cellbrite extractions. And now if y'all remember, I know a lot of y'all started kind of hanging out with me during all the Murdoch stuff. So I know you've heard Cellbrite before. So here's what we added to the timeline from the Cellbrite stuff. The SMS, which is text application on Rosalio's phone, was launched the night of the disappearance at 9:23 p.m. and then again at 9:24 and 23 seconds. There was also a couple times when display came on, but we know that could be for any number of reasons, movement or notifications, anything like that. The orientation changed to landscape at 10:44, and it shows that change was recorded until 10:44:16, which is likely when his phone actually finally died in the freezer. So we try again. We have now reached the time of day 11, where things start to get a little wild. So Sadie and Zach's daughter takes the stand, and she is, she's only 15 now. She was 11 when all of this started, and it was, a lot of the stuff happened on her 12th birthday. So a part of her testimony is redacted, and her face is never shown. They said her name multiple times. I don't want to say her name. I don't feel comfortable saying her name. She's a kid, so I'm just going to call her O. So everything starts out with part of O's testimony being redacted. When the audio cuts in, Gravely's in the middle of asking her questions. The first thing that we hear is she's talking about her dad came back to the car. And then she starts describing how they went to the house and looked in the windows. So we can assume that this is the night before her 12th birthday, April 24th, when we had already heard before that she was had to go with her dad to go spy on her mom and Rosalio. Okay, so while O was on the stand, she confirmed a lot of things that we've already heard. She talked about the story about having to go with her dad to go spy on Sadie and Rosalio, about him taking the picture of Rosalio's registration and license plate, ringing the doorbell, all of that stuff. She did say something that we hadn't heard yet, that when they were on the way back, I guess he played the phone recording, but she said you couldn't hear anything on it. She also said that when they got back to Zach's house, he actually left again. And that was all around 3 a.m. on her 12th birthday. A few other things that she confirmed while she was on the stand were the plan that her dad had to have her and her brothers dropped off at Sadie's house and then call the authorities to make it look like she abandoned them. One thing that they added to it, or she added to it, was that he had told her that she would have to call Sadie's phone from her phone, but hang up before it actually rings on Sadie's end so that it would look like she had called her mom a few times. She also confirmed the information that Becky had given us yesterday or the day before, whenever it was, it's all running together, about him showing up in the middle of the night while her mom was in Mexico. She said it was sometime between 2 and 4 a.m. She thought it was weird. He came and woke her up and her brothers and told them that he was making breakfast at 4 a.m. for school. She confirmed the van did not have the carpet cut out of it, and it didn't have the bleach stains when she was in it that weekend when they had gone to the tree farm. She also mentioned that while they were at the tree farm, Zach had gotten a chainsaw, which was something I hadn't heard yet, and that he put it in the back of the van. She said that while they were there, he also borrowed boots from his dad. Then later on, that was on Saturday when they went there. Later on, they went back to his house, spent the night, and Sadie picked them up there on Sunday. She did also confirm that Sunday he was wearing that same blue flannel that we had already heard he had been wearing. She mentioned that her dad brought up Rosalio frequently, that he had some derogatory nicknames for him, and he had made comments about how he was going to follow him just for the fun of it. She also mentioned seeing rope and duct tape in her dad's basement the weekend before his disappearance. At this point, Gravely brings up to the judge that there seemed to be a lot of facial expressions between Zach and his daughter while she's on the stand, and he's concerned about possible nonverbal communication. Judge Schroeder said that he is keeping an eye out for both Sadie and Zach. Next, they bring up Zach's marijuana growing operation, which his daughter said that she knew a good deal about. She said that he was growing 72 plants, had a water system, everything was done in rows, he had a place to dry them. She said it was a pretty big setup. So the last thing that they really address in her direct testimony is about some of the spy issues. She said that her dad had told her about the phone that was put under her brother's car seat, and actually had told her before to watch where her mom was going on the desktop. And when she watched it, she said that she actually could see it tracking her to Rosalio's house. So cross-examination is where everything really started to spiral out of control today. Nicole Mueller begins to pick apart basically everything that O has said. She mentions the chainsaw and asked if she remembered in one interview not telling the police about it, and then in another interview saying that she didn't, or he didn't take it with him. You can tell in the tone of O's voice that she is starting to get really defensive. Mueller begins to probably sense this, so she tries to start kind of laughing with her and maybe regaining some trust and talking about how he used to wear flip-flops all the time, even in the snow. Haha, silly dad. It seems to work for a moment, but it is very short-lived. As soon as she moves on to show her some clothes, like a white t-shirt and jeans that supposedly belong to Zach, O said that doesn't look like the same brand that her dad wore. Which was fine, but then when Mueller said, well, you don't know every shirt that your dad owned, you can tell that her guard goes right back up. So we move on to questioning her about the night of the 24th when they went to spy on Sadie and Rosalio. O is saying that she saw Zach go up there around the corner when he was looking in the window, and then he came back, got in the car, etc., etc. Mueller brings up the phone in the air conditioning unit and all of the things that O had said earlier. And then she says, but now you're saying that you weren't running all over the house with your dad, you were in the car. This part was really uncomfortable to watch because while I understand that a defense attorney's job is to discredit a witness, insinuating to a teenage girl who has been traumatized that she's lying is not going to go over well.
Where were you in the vehicle that you could see everything that Mr. Anderson was doing? So on direct, right? You said there, right now you're saying there were 2 times. The first time was you pull in and in the bar, near the bar, right? That's
My father had told me what he saw.
Well,
Like
no,
up front, had told me what he saw in the car through the window. If that is your question. I was not standing next to that window when he was looking at Mr. Gutierrez the first time. I went up the second time. He had told me about this, but in the same way, I had seen him go around that corner.
So I want to break down kind of what you saw versus what you heard from someone else.
Okay.
So you pull in.
Mm-hmm.
You said that your dad had a video recording device.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point he went behind to put another cell phone in the air conditioning unit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's behind the house.
Yeah.
But you're now saying
It's
you
on
were
the
in
side of the house.
You're now saying you were in the car this whole time. You're not out running around the house with your dad.
Objection. Hold on. She has explained that there's 2 different sections. She's out it sometimes and not at others.
I'm asking about the first time.
No, actually, you're not asking. You're saying what you understand the situation to have been. So you can ask what the truth of it is, and then the district attorney is reporting what he thought the testimony was. So why don't you rephrase your question?